From Lalate headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons Lalate.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022 and the economic changes happening across the globe. In this recording, we'll go over the incredible great news as, yes, $15,000 to $80,000 of new stimulus checks are available. What went on overnight? The latest breaking news as new money is now released by the federal government for you to get $15,000 to $80,000 a household. It's huge. Then we'll be going back to the Build Back Better Act that has lots of checks in there and are going out, says the President of the United States during the State of the Union address this week. The February jobs reports came in, and it was good, but not as good as we thought, and that means that more stimulus is needed. And all the latest details on CR for Stimulus 1.0. Overnight, the president tried to take some of that money from the CR, but it didn't happen. So once the update on that, you'll see it on Afternoons. Then we turn to SS 300 and the opportunity to raise your benefits up $300 a month based upon inflation. But what has Jay Powell signaled he's going to be doing with it? The latest on today's recording. Inflation is being impacted not just by the price of oil from the Russian aggression against Ukraine, but another issue that's not priced into the market currently. And that other price point is wheat. We're going to turn to why wheat is not priced into the market right now. And this could be the major cause of inflation, not just the issue of oil, as Russia advances against the southern core corridor of the battle today. We'll be looking at the refugee crisis as well, and we'll be looking at what's happening on the battleground and what can be done at home. My analysis, and the Treasury Secretary under Janet Yellen spoke about oil today, but did he get it right or did he get it wrong? It's a major recording with a lot of breaking news and a preview of tonight's major one-hour broadcast, Evenings Lalate in prime time. This is Afternoons Lalate, direct from Santa Monica, California, about your money, about all the incredible money that's coming your way, with an inclusion of a new $15,000 to $80,000 of checks that was released by the White House today. All those incredible details start direct from Santa Monica, California, as we go over your big money and all the incredible opportunities abound, including what's happening on the horizon here and overseas. All those incredible thoughts and details start right now as Afternoons LA gets underway from Santa Monica, California, on a big broadcast today across the land. When you look at the Build Back Better Act, the incredible money of the Build Back Better Act has a lot of issues at hand. But the question is how quickly it can get done. We'll go over it starting right now. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you have a beautiful day. And our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Ukraine as Odessa is now held overnight. It's still in place, but the situation is unfolding by the minute. We'll be touching back on the latest developing details overseas and how to impact your wallet at home from the battleground and the oppression from Putin. We'll be looking at the impact of it on oil and wheat and how it impacts your wallet back at home, what's been priced in the market, and what the White House is and isn't doing, and the latest comments that came in this morning, and were they accurate? But first, we're going to start with your money. And that money got a big surprise, as an additional $15,000 to $80,000 of checks are being released to Americans right today. And what is that money? It's coming up later in this video. It concerns something we've covered on this channel for several months, and how viewers have gotten thousands of dollars of it, but now you get more of it, more than we'd ever thought before. And that number is a quote from the White House, $15,000 to $80,000. We're going to go to those incredible sums of money later in this recording, but let's start first with the Build Back Better Act. That has 3 classes of checks and 3 add-ons. Those Build Back Better checks will be paid out, says Joseph Biden during State of the Union address this week. And those incredible checks amount to a cluster that is absolutely incredible. In that first cluster of checks, we have the incredible home repairs and also money for children and other items across the board. But when you look at all these incredible checks of the Build Back Better Act collectively, is a lot of them. And how many checks are we looking at in Build Back Better? We're looking at about $15,000 to $60,000 of checks across 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. Let's look at each of those right now. In cluster number 1, hazard pay got in there. $4,000 of elder care got in there. $3,600 for the young children. And then the home repairs, plus incredible money for the purchase of a new electric vehicle. Then, when we turn to the incredible first add-on of checks, $25,000 of them. This is money to buy your first home. Can you imagine? Money given from the federal government to the seller at the time of escrow to buy your first home. How do you get these incredible checks? Tune in to Evenings LA, tonight at 1 at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's America's most watched financial news show in prime time, and we're going to be going over all these incredible checks one at a time. But now let's turn to the second cluster of checks, where it gets even bigger. We're in the second cluster of checks in the Build Back Better Act that will go out, and they include home repairs, paid leave if you have to take off from work due to sickness or illness. And home repairs this time is to weatherize your home. Paid leave is a lot of money, folks. It is a fortune, $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. If you make $35,000, then it's $800 a week. $15,000, $400 a week. 4 to 6 weeks per year, so yeah, this is thousands of dollars. How do you get these incredible sums of money? Tune in to Evenings LA tonight at 5 o'clock across the board. Now let's go into the second add-on of checks. You need it, and it's not law yet, but it should have been law years ago. Free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. Just a little bit less than $250 billion got it in there. And this is a campaign promise delivered by Joe Biden. Now let's turn to the third cluster checks, seniors and free internet. Free internet for all, currently under second stimulus, need it. Reach out to the volunteers on the community page featured during the commercial break. And then seniors, check for them, farmers, independent contractors. But the seniors, 2 checks coming on the House, 3 coming on the Senate. On the House side, they got the Medicaid gap fix and the dental. And then they also have the hearing vision coming on the Senate side. But when we talk about Senate versus House, we're talking about the senators adding lots of checks. And those checks that they vow to add in there are MSC. Legislators represent that they're adding in monthly IRS stimulus checks on the Senate side when Build Back Better Act goes to modification in that Senate subcommittee. So how much are those MSCs? Who get it? And when would you get it across the board? MSC is a body of additional checks, like the $15,000 to $80,000 of additional checks featured late in this recording, stay at the very end, that are being added across the board. Eligibility would be the same as a third stimulus check. Forgot who got a third? No worries, I'm going to go over that with you right now. Eligibility for a third stimulus check was the following and would be the same for fourth, says the legislators. Single individuals, $75,000 or less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less, double it, you get it. Family of 4, quadruple it. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, you get as well. It's not taxable, it ain't income. And it's offered on a nationwide basis, not offered on a statewide basis. California, we get electric surfboards instead. It's not taxable, and it goes off the most recent tax return, and there you rock and roll. So how much? They're talking about $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months. Build Back Better Act got a name drop, not once, but over a half a dozen times during the State of the Union address by Joe Biden. He made it very clear, his messaging being very clear all this spring, that every check in Build Back Better Act will go out, and he's going to give it to you. And he's going to make sure you get it as quickly as possible. Now, the opportunity to get a check before Build Back Better Act has been the focal point of this channel since day one. Been getting viewers big money. And later in this video, I'm going to show you how viewers got $45,000 overnight in checks. Have you gotten it? Stay to the very end. I'm also going to show you how there's now $80,000 of additional stimulus checks now going out. I'm going to go over that as well. But we're going to turn to CR for Stimulus right now. CR for Stimulus 1.0, detailed more tonight on Evenings LA at 5 o'clock, is the opportunity to get a stimulus check, $2,000, into a continuing resolution. Inherent deadline just a few days away. What's at issue? Let's go over it right now. In 2020, we had a first stimulus package, and it paid us a check. We used it. We needed more money. So we heard about a second stimulus package for several months. Negotiations unraveled. Nancy Pelosi, Steve Mnuchin. No deal. 11 months. So I thought to myself, Americans need better. We need a quicker solution, bipartisan support, small bill, get it done. And I found it. It's called the Continuing Resolution, CR. It's a bill to fund the federal government every 3 to 6 months. They have to do it. They get it done. Bipartisan support. My idea? Just put a stimulus check in this simple piece of legislation and get it out. I came with the idea, delivered on camera, and we made history. I made history because that paid Americans the check. That is actually where the check actually eventually landed because of my creation. The Purple Power community of this channel also made history because they advocated. They contacted senators and legislators saying, get it into the continuing resolution of December 2020. And that check went out. Second stimulus, unfortunately, never happened. So, 5 weeks ago on this channel, when looking at fourth stimulus, the Build Back Better Act, I said to viewers, do you want me to bring it on back? They said it. I said that it. They said yes. And so CR for stimulus is back on, baby. Where are we right now on that CR for stimulus? We are less than 2 weeks away on a continuing resolution that has an inherent deadline in middle March with $1.5 trillion of discretionary spending allocated in there. Bipartisan support, bill, negotiations complete, House and Senate, Republicans and Democrats, enough for a $2,000 stimulus check. Last week I told you that Joseph Biden came along and said, I want some of the money for COVID. Democrats and Republicans said, no, this has been negotiated. We're not adding or taking away from this money. Then, during the State of the Union address, the president said, I'm going to be coming back and asking for some more money. He winked, and I thought he was looking at me. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he's looking at Jill. But I thought, is he trying to take our CR money again? And I joked about it. Well, maybe I should not have joked about it, because yesterday he actually sent out a letter. From the Congressional Budget Office in Washington, he sent a letter to the legislators saying, I want some of that CR money for COVID. How much? Just a little bit. So number one, don't worry, it's just a little bit he's asking. Number two, they already said no. And even if they gave it to him, it would not impair your opportunity to get that money that could be dedicated to you. So where are we on CR for Stimulus 1.0? I'll have the latest details after the commercial break. But the situation is unfolding as Jay Powell has your next opportunity. And he did so well. Who is Jay Powell? He's head of your Federal Reserve. His job is to keep inflation stable, bring it down. That's not the president's job. That's Jay Powell's job. And Jay Powell does it with raising interest rates slowly. How slowly? Once per month, one meeting per month, if at all. And what was the latest details that came in this week? Well, Jay Powell gave us incredible clarity of what he's going to do in just a few days for his first interest rate spike and what he's likely to do thereafter in view of the situation unfolding overseas in Ukraine. It's good news for you because guess what? Despite the oppression of Vladimir Putin, Jay Powell is now pivoting. And with that pivot, there's great opportunity to get that SS-300 raised up and get it raised up in view of oil. We'll be turning to the situation on oil right now. Covered on this channel for over the last week, it has been a big topic of discussion by viewers because everyone understands that if oil spirals out of control, which it's starting to, then economic destability kicks in the United States. And every pot of money I get you gets valued less. And while oil has been covered extensively on this channel in the last few days, I'm easing into a new subject, as you saw last night on Eating Lalate. It's something that we resonate even more to. Wheat. Why? Because Vladimir Putin's active aggression against Ukraine will disrupt wheat potentially in a way in which the U.S. market has not priced it in as a risk factor. When we look at Vladimir Putin's move into Odessa, we may think about oil and impacting the delivery of oil to world leaders and neighboring countries. But have we thought about the impact on wheat produced by Ukraine? Market analysts believe we have not, and this could cause more economic disruption at home than even oil. I'll go over the situation on oil briefly as a preview of tonight's evening's broadcast, as a bipartisan support group proposed legislation to ease the situation at home. But in a shocking twist in terms of events, earlier today, the Under-Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen appeared on broadcast media and was answering questions about the oil situation in the United States, and his answers were evasive, unresponsive, and often completely inaccurate. The 40-year-old Yale graduate really did not come to play to represent the American people with truth and accuracy in his statements responding to the situation of oil. So I'll go over his comments and really where the truth is tonight as we go into a big evening's broadcast. Plus, we'll be looking at that big money. Yes. In view of the events of world affairs going on right tonight, as I'm going to feature later in this recording, there is $15,000 to $80,000 of more stimulus checks now being released. And this came out of nowhere, offered nationwide nearly everywhere. For millions of Americans and for viewers of this channel who have gotten it before, you're going to get more of it if you listen later in this recording. It was something I had to get a double take on when I saw it happening this morning. Those details and more coming up tonight in just a second as Afternoons LA continues in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Late Daily for the excitement of the new LA Late live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA Late at 9 a.m. Home LA Late returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then Afternoons LA Late at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA Late. And the excitement continues right now, direct from the shores of Santa Monica, California, and in Los Angeles. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people overseas in Ukraine. And we'll have more about you in just a second. But let's go into the big exciting news direct from Santa Monica, California, with additional stimulus now being released. It's huge. And we'll start first with the Build Back Better Act. And where it's going, also see off our stimulus, and then turn to the incredible sums of new money now being released. It's a big recording. What are you watching? You're watching LA, the number 3 most watched financial news channel in America. But with the number 1 most watched financial show in prime time, it's called Evenings LA, and it comes out tonight at 5 o'clock. This is a preview of tonight's show. You don't want to miss it. With all the incredible sums of money covered in that recording, you want to subscribe, like the video, and sign up for those LA alerts across the board. See how this is 1.0 LA's update today is that it's going to the finish line. And all you have to do is advocate. Advocate to ensure that they include a $2,000 stimulus check in there. $1.5 trillion of discretionary spending put in there. Bipartisan support done, negotiations done, discretion of the House at the hands of the White House all lined up. So advocate to those senators and say, put a stimulus check in there. Looks exactly like December 2020. Think of the pandemic, continuing resolution, and you need money right then. The situation is very similar. Moreover, we've been waiting for Build Back Better Act for 11 months, and that's why it's important to make the advocacy call right now and say, put it in there. Contact Coons and Casey and Warren. Say, put that stimulus check in there because you got the money, you have the dedicated funds, and while Build Back Better Act will be happening, we need those sums of money right now. We need a check right now. And in view of the events that happened this morning, even more reason to get a check. CR for Stimulus 2 and 3.0 will be happening, featured tonight on Evenings LA, but we had new economic data that came in this morning. The February jobs report, non-farm payrolls rose by 678%. That is much higher than Wall Street expected at 440,000%. But wages didn't improve that much. So what analysts now believe is that people return back to the marketplace because inflation was high. They couldn't stay out of the labor market. And that's why there were more people taking jobs, more jobs created, but they didn't get paid more. Very, very fascinating, because they didn't get paid more. Then that may signal that the inflation is going up faster than your salary. That is what causes potential stagflation. Now, Jay Powell, your head of the Federal Reserve this week, spoke about the importance to deal with inflation. And the great news is that we are really getting incredible clarity that sometimes he doesn't have to give us. His job, bring down inflation, and his job to bring it down at a rate at which it does not cause the economy of the United States to shrink. Just bring it down and keep our economy robust. But he has another problem. He does not only have supply chain disruption, but also Vladimir Putin. And so Jay Powell this week had incredible clarity. He told us that in the 5 FOMC meetings coming up this year, while many analysts were expecting 5 interest rate spikes in 5 meetings, and some were even saying 7 interest rate spikes, some were saying half basis points, he said, I'm starting with a quarter. And I'm going to start with a quarter right now. And I'll do a quarter next month. And I'm going to stay with that for a night now. If I need to do more, I'll do more. Wow. Incredible, great news. He didn't have to tell you what he was going to do ahead of time. He didn't have to tell you what he was going to do 2 months out ahead of time. And he didn't have to tell you, I think I need to pivot because Ukraine is disrupting situations. And that was great news. It's great news for you and your benefits because guess what? Joe Biden needs to make that phone call. Joe, make the call. I got the prepaid phone. Here it is. Give it to Joe. Make the phone call to the Social Security Administrator. Replace COLA with inflation. Viewers have been incredible. The Purple Power Caucus have been absolutely incredible on social media. Tagging the president, say, make the call and swap it out. What's at issue? Not inventing the wheel here, folks. This is not my creation. This is Liz Warren's creation. Liz Warren, when running for president, wanted to replace COLA with inflation as your benchmark for benefits. How does this work? Every year in December, they look at your benchmark COLA and determine, is COLA 2%? Is it 5%? Let's raise your benefits up based upon COLA. The problem is COLA doesn't move. So no one likes it, and they want to replace it with inflation. And not just Liz Warren. After she withdrew for president, Joe Biden says, I like our platforms. I'm going to use Liz's platforms. And then when he became president-elect, he published on his website. Still published at joebiden.com. The only difference then to now, 12% inflation, some states. Elsewhere, 8%. So you need that extra $200 a month. How do you get it? Let's go over the analysis right now. Very simple. Inflation right now is its highest price point of a generation. 7.5% December, likely 8% in January. So you want Joe to swap out COLA with inflation now when it's at the highest price point of a generation, because the way that benefits work is that once you lock in the higher number, you don't go down. So you want Joe Biden to lock in you at that higher inflation number now of, let's say, 8%, before Jay Powell gets reducing it down to 4% by about December. Yes, this is a huge difference. Swap it out for inflation right now, that would be about $200 more per month for millions of Americans to ease the inflationary burden. And then if 4% inflation is December, you get another $100 there because remember, your benefits are reassessed every year. It's incredible. Joe, make the phone call. I'll feature more tonight on Evenings LA, but guess what? Oil and now wheat are big topics on this channel, and viewers have resonated to the situation because I can get you big sums of money and it could be devalued overnight if the price of oil is out of control. And what about those big $80,000 stimulus checks? I'm going to be going over those in just a second. But the situation unfolding about oil is becoming very, very politically driven and economically driven today. And you're going to see a very quick analysis of it, but a lot more tonight on Evenings LA. Let me give you a preview of what happened today. And boy, folks, it would have made some of you furious. Oil goes up in price when there's less of it. Well, there's less of it right now because of Vladimir Putin going into Ukraine. Pretty simple? Yes. So oil is now surging its highest price points in many years. How do you get oil back down? You release oil. How do you release oil? If you have it stored, you release it. If you don't have it stored, you produce it, and then you release it. Now, as you have a storage room in your house or your cupboard where you put your spices, you can't store stuff indefinitely. So if you have it in storage, you release some, and then you produce more and you release more after that. Not every country has oil in the ground. Some countries have more, some countries have less. So what happened yesterday? The OPEC countries met, and United Arab Emirates, which is one of our allies over the many years, has an enormous amount of oil available to release. And what did it do? Decided not to release any. did not help us. I was not happy. But that's not the situation that's unfolding right today. The situation unfolding right today is what we could do back at home. See, when we talk about oil, we have to not only provide oil to our citizens, but also oil to our partners like Italy and France. They don't necessarily produce as much oil, and so we need to rely upon our alliances on other countries to release oil to them to ease their dependency on Russian oil. More about that second. But what about our oil back at home? This did not turn out well today. What happened? Earlier today, during a major interview, the Deputy Treasury Secretary, Wally Adulamo, who is a 40-year-old Yale graduate with not particularly a lot of experience on anything, appeared during an interview to answer a series of questions about oil production in the United States. In my opinion, he was evasive, unresponsive, did not answer questions, and actually gave wrong data. What was he asked? He was asked very bluntly, has the White House reached out to West Texas U.S. oil producers and say, can you produce some more oil so we can bring the price of oil down? Would not answer the question. When asked then, we have quotes from West Texas oil producers that says the White House is not reaching out to us. Can you reach out to us? He again refused to answer the question. West Texas can produce more oil for us to bring it down. The White House has said they don't want more gasoline produced in the United States. And then when asked, have you reached out to ask for more oil to be produced? Would not answer the question. It got worse. Then when asked, what are you doing to ramp up production in the United States? He said, we're really at one of our higher levels of productions currently. Interviewer ran the data. Said, untrue, Deputy Treasury Secretary, untrue. The production of oil in the United States now is at levels like 10, 15 years ago. We're not at the highest production level. That's an incorrect data. That's actually incorrect. Then he said, well, the White House's proposal is not to do anything that makes greater harm to the American people. How does releasing more oil to the American people from our oil wells cause harm? Again, no answer. And that is being spurred by oil now surging to $114 a barrel. In the last 5 days on this channel, oil has surged from 100 to 120. Analysts have embedded the price of oil into the risk factors of this economy. Why is this a big issue, folks? If oil gets out of control, we go into a recession. And if we go into recession, we go into 2 years of recession. And then we go into stagflation. And then we go into unemployment. You cannot leave oil at a heightened level. And here's something you're hearing for the first time brand new on Afternoons Lalate. As soon as Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, everyone started talking about oil. It's pretty easy. And Wall Street analysts started giving guidance as to whether they have the risk of surging oil in the market embedded in the risk. You have to assess risk. If you don't, then suddenly you have no preparation for your money being worth less money. Well, today and on Evenings LA at 5 o'clock tonight on our special report, we're going to look at why analysts now believe that Wall Street has forgotten another situation, and that is wheat. The threat of wheat disruption has not been embedded in the market, and that may be the biggest concern right today. The price of futures of wheat, as Ukraine is a major exporter of wheat, being disrupted by the Vladimir Putin's acts of aggressions, especially in the coastal towns, could be the real impairment to this economy. As many analysts now believe, we saw $4 a gallon for gasoline 5 years ago in a market in which our economy was smaller and we could survive on it. But can we survive out of control bread, out of control soybeans, out of control corn? And what about our partners? Analysts believe this is not a risk that has been assessed at the market. I'll have more about that tonight on Evenings Lalate. What a very, very fascinating twist and turn of events, and it's all coming up tonight. All right, some money. This one's a surprising one. Here come those checks, folks. You waited, and I was shocked. The White House has now identified that there will be more money available, and it's $15,000 to $80,000. The Homeowners Association's fund, overseen by the U.S. Department of Treasury, is releasing an additional $10 billion today. Yeah, you heard me right. $1.5 trillion CR. Yeah, this is a $10 billion fund program, folks. Again, the Homeowner Assistance Fund, overseen by the U.S. Department of Treasury, is releasing $10 billion of additional funding today for issues covered on this channel for homeowners and renters. The average payment will be $15,000 to $80,000. Let's go over the details of it right now. It's an unfolding story. As I get more of it, I'll deliver it to you on air and links and similar. First, the program is being administered by the Homeowner Assistance Fund, which is part of the federal government's U.S. Department of Treasury. Number one, you do not have to be delinquent on your bills. You do not have to be behind on your bills. Number two, it's being administered by states and sometimes may vary. So it may be on a county level, but generally by the states. You have to have a household income comparable to what's covered on this channel. So generally what's covered on this channel. Let me give you an example. You generally have to be around, have a household income below 150% of your area's median income, or $80,000, whichever is higher. So if you make $80,000 less a single individual, you're getting a stimulus check under forced stimulus recon. It's the same numbers. It's the same numbers I always say. Yeah, 75,000 single individual, and I show the four guys on the beach. It's the same number, 75, 150. So it's the same number. Most states do not make delinquency, again, behind on the bills, as a requirement. The National Council of State Housing Agency, and this is very fluid. This is all breaking news today. So to the way in which I can get it to you easier, I will in the days to come. The National Council of State Housing Agency has now prepared a map where you can find where to apply in your state. Some states have not opened the program. So you're watching this as a breaking news report. This has just happened just the last few minutes ago. If you've been with this channel from the very beginning, there have been times where I say things go live and they're gone like in minutes. So please stay with me all weekend long. I will be updating this as soon as I get the data. The monies, depending on your state, the expenses can be used for mortgage, property taxes, homeowners insurance, association fees, utilities, certain home repairs, and more. Wow. States can decide on maximum relief for a homeowner, but the cap ranges from about $15,000 to $80,000. It apparently is not available in the state of New York. And there you go. Wow. This comes after viewers like Lorraine, featured tonight on Amy's got another round of money. She says, hey, I got $70,000 for my rent for the next 9 years, and then it'll become permanent for a lifetime. Incredible. These sums of money that are featured on this channel from third stimulus are in addition to this. So let me make that clear. This is additional sums of money, folks. And let me also make clear, if you got in third stimulus or second stimulus for rent or utilities or any of the items featured on this channel, this breaking news today is in addition to that. I'll be staying on point with you and giving you the latest updates as it comes out across the board. I'm very excited because a lot of the eligibility items are items you've been asking for over a year, and sometimes I have not had money for it, like property taxes. So where do you get that third stimulus other money, and what do you do? Let's look at the data right now. You can reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You must do three things. You must reach out to all 6 places. You must do multiple rounds. And you must put multiple applications on file. Now, please open that membership newsletter. Are you a member? Become a member under the video and get that incredible newsletter that features all the big money under first, second, and third stimulus. And rely on those nonprofits. And yeah, to the extent that I get the data about this new program, I will include that in the newsletter as soon as I do. This is breaking news, and the newsletter will be upgraded accordingly. Let's turn back to the ground battle in Ukraine and Russia before we turn back more to your money in just a second. The situation unfolding in Ukraine is very fluid. Number one, let me tell you how economic disruption at home is still an issue. We went over oil and we went over wheat. The problem with oil and wheat is that there's no inherent solution at the moment. And when we look at oil, people are talking about it, but wheat, they aren't. Let me explain the situation and why this is very, very important. When we talk about oil, we all know there's oil in our country. We all know we can produce oil. We all pay for gasoline at the pump. It's a very simple concept, and that's why so many viewers have really enjoyed the coverage of gasoline and Brent crude on this channel. But it's also a risk that we understand because a lot of us were alive in the 1970s or knew people who lived in the 1970s, and we know what happens when oil disruption's at issue. Have we ever had a generation in which we hear wheat disruption or soybean disruption or corn disruption? No, we really haven't had a generation of that. And so we don't have a physical memory of where an economy was thrown into a recession because of wheat. Yeah. And this is very surprising. And I'm staying on the subject matter for at least the next few days. The wheat futures surging overnight in the United States because this risk is not embedded. And Wall Street analysts are now being very critical that they have not potentially assessed this risk as Vladimir Putin's acts of aggressions continue. What is the situation on the battleground in Ukraine right today? And what do you need to know as it impacts elements back at home? You look at the beautiful town of Odessa featured last night on Evenings LA. At the time of that recording, I did not know if it would still be standing. Today, it is still standing, and it may look much like you've seen in this beautiful footage of the Opera House. Earlier on Thursday, off the waters of Odessa, seen in the background there, an Estonia-owned cargo ship, Helt, sunk, shot down by Russian forces. Gershon, which is a town very close by, it's about 120 miles away from Odessa, with a population of 300,000 desecrated days earlier. And Mykolaiv, this is not that. This is Gershon. That's about 45 miles to the north. Was also desecrated. The issue at hand is a strategic and also a symbolic advance by Vladimir Putin. When we look at these certain towns, why is he making these moves as he is? When we look at Odessa, it's a port town. And so by taking over the port, he's trying to strangle the economy of Ukraine. If you can't import to the country, then how do you get food into the country? He's trying to strangle the economy of Ukraine by controlling its port. And that is why destruction of an opera house, which has not happened, is not his focal point at the moment. His focal point is to cripple the economy by controlling its port. 300,000 residents of Kherson saw cluster bombing. That was a whole different situation, of course, across the board. Overnight, in the central part of Ukraine, very surprising, because we're now moving away from what I just showed you a second ago, which is the sea region. What he did overnight was try to head to the central part of the country and take control of a nuclear reactor. The latest details tonight is that Vladimir Putin has control of that nuclear power plant. His goal is not to destroy it. His goal potentially was to cause fear overnight, to suggest that there would be radiation leaks, not leaks. That is not happening. Number one, there is no radioactive concern. Number two, he's not exploding at the factory. Number three, there is no threat or harm to people nearby at the moment. What his concern is to do is to cut off the power to the people of Ukraine. This power plant powers the country, and it's the major output of nuclear power for the country. And so Vladimir Putin's position now is that he has now taken control of the major power plant of Ukraine and is now focusing on taking the major port of Ukraine, trying to cripple and control the economic balance of power in the country of Ukraine. However, the situation is not so fluid as that, as cluster bombs have now been confirmed. The refugee crisis growing by the minute. 500,000 refugees, then 1 million, likely 10 million by the weekend. Situation unfolding by the minute, but I'll have more tonight on Evenings LA as we see the impact of what's unfolding across the board. This situation for you and your money back at home, a lot of twists and turns. Build Back Better Act will get passed. CR for stimulus will get passed. Have to advocate for that inclusion of that $2,000 stimulus check. SS 300 just needs a phone call. $15,000 to $80,000 of new checks dedicated to you. Available right away. Being detailed on this channel in the next few days. Announced just this morning. And far more money available still from third stimulus as viewers continue to clean up across the board, and you should as well. I look forward to seeing tonight on the 5 o'clock edition, the primetime edition of Evenings Lalate. It's the most watched financial news show in prime time. It's been a major hit, and I appreciate your encouragement and stand of support behind the people of Ukraine. Then at 7 o'clock is a brand new show as well, our I Stand With Ukraine Home Edition. Keep your thoughts and prayers with the people of Ukraine, and stay here as the situation is unfolding economically back at home. I'll stay on point. Whether Treasury Secretary gives you wrong information or correct information, whether it's wheat or oil, whether it's stimulus or your wallet, and whether it's your home or your rent, it's all covered on Afternoons LA. And it'll also be covered more tonight in more depth on Evenings. See you tonight at 5 o'clock as Evenings LA heats up.